This happened last summer, right before school started again. My cousin and I were driving cross-country from New Mexico to California. I had just turned 19 and got my first car, and we figured we'd make a road trip out of it before real life kicked in. We weren't on any real schedule, just avoiding interstates, taking back roads, and camping out when we could. On the third day, we were somewhere in the Sonoran Desert. It was late afternoon, and the sun was starting to dip, throwing everything into that weird reddish glow. We had no service, no gas stations for miles, and barely half a tank left. That's when we saw a small hand-painted sign stuck into the ground by the road. It just said, "Water, 2 miles, free," with an arrow pointing down a dirt path. We looked at each other. It was hot, we were low on supplies, and that sign looked shady as hell. But we also didn't want to risk running dry in the middle of nowhere. So we turned down the road. The path was dusty and overgrown, like it hadn't been used in years. We passed a couple of rusted-out vehicles, old trailers covered in graffiti, and what looked like the charred remains of a house. I started to say we should turn around, but my cousin spotted something in the distance, some kind of structure. It turned out to be an old water tower, leaning like it was about to collapse. Beneath it was a small shack. The shack had no windows, and the door was cracked open. Now, here's where things started to get weird. The air around the shack felt still, like dead still. Not a single gust of wind, not a sound, not even the usual desert bugs. We parked and walked up, calling out a few times. No answer. Inside the shack was empty, just some busted furniture and shelves. But on the far wall, there was a trapdoor in the floor. No lock, no handle, just a ring bolted to the center. I pulled it open. A wooden ladder led straight down into darkness. Now I know what you're thinking. Why the hell would anyone climb into that? But the thing is, it didn't feel dangerous. It felt inviting, like we were supposed to go down there. We grabbed our flashlights and climbed in. The tunnel wasn't deep, maybe 10-12 feet down. It opened into this bizarre underground room. The walls were made of stone, like old stone, way older than the shack above. In the middle was a circle of sand, perfectly smooth, like someone had raked it. And in the center of the sand was a single wooden chair, facing the far wall. That's when we noticed it. Carved into the stone above the chair, like scratched in with a knife, was this word: listen. Suddenly, we heard footsteps behind us, fast ones. We spun around. Nothing. Then, from behind the wall, came this thumping, slow and heavy, like something dragging its weight across stone. My cousin whispered, "We need to go," but I couldn't move. It felt like the air had turned solid, thick and hot and full of static. Then it screamed. Whatever it was, behind that wall, it let out this guttural, choking scream, like it had never breathed fresh air in its life. It sounded old, wrong, like it came from inside the earth itself.